Yeah, I think we are live.
Yay, great. Hi everyone.
Hello, everyone.
Are we
Is
live?
it?
Because I see this connecting button. Oh, now
Now,
we are live.
now we are
Okay.
live. Hello, everyone.
Hi everyone. Welcome to Two Souls and One Endless Dialogue.
And this is our first episode. And today we are going to talk about communication challenges in modern day relationships. And
Yes, we are.
yeah, yeah, it's so beautiful how everything unfolded in last few days. And the moment I came up with this idea, then we had this conversation, and I think it's just been 3 4 days.
Yeah, that's how we execute, no? We don't think, we go for it.
Yeah, yeah, I think that's how my life has been. I don't know about you, but my life has been like that only.
I'm getting influenced by you.
Okay, great. And I think when we talk, let's first talk a little bit about, shall we talk a little bit about our friendship and how I felt so comfortable doing this with you?
Sure, why not? Yes, go for it.
Yeah, yeah. So I think we met on LinkedIn.
Yes,
And
we met on
oh my God, I have met so many people from LinkedIn, and it's been so like it's been very amazing. All the people I have met from LinkedIn. I know yeah, it's all about how you use it. That's what I
Mhm.
would say. And since then, yeah, I think we hardly meet 2 times in a year, and we talk on call in like 3 4 months once. We hardly
Mhm.
ever talk on chat. Yeah, right. We do talk in that sense that where we are reading each other's newsletters. That is
Yeah.
also one form of communication that we have. But whenever we have conversations, whenever I have a conversation with you, it's very smooth, it's very flowing, and they are always deep. We like discuss things we usually don't. Although I have a lot of deep conversations with most of my friends, but I think conversation with you just strike apart.
I agree. I mean, it's been what, only 2.5 years since we have known each other, right? I think in
Yes.
2022 we got connected, and you know, I don't find much connections in my life which progress the way like ours has, and it's more about, as you said, the flowy nature of it. Like there is, I have never felt like I have to carry on a mask while talking in front of
Mm.
you. I have never felt like, even if I'm feeling intimidated by you, that I have to hide it. I am like very vocal about it that Ashutosh, I'm getting intimidated. So that is like, one of the very cherished experiences for me when it comes to our friendship. And yeah, I mean, it's only natural that if you have that kind of flowiness in a connection, you will approach
Mm.
depth, right? Like whatever
Mm.
communications, last month only when we met, and the series of topics we were talking about with all the emotions involved, like a huge stress buster, inspiring, all at the same time. So yeah, lovely, always lovely to talk to you, and now this way, in this public way, I'm just
Yeah,
looking forward to it.
yeah. I think it's more exciting.
It is.
It is definitely more exciting because now I think we have some structure to it,
Yeah,
and of course there is a little bit of difference that comes when the conversation is being recorded and it's going to be live, it's going to be public.
it is. But let's see, like
Yeah,
how much we are gonna follow that structure.
yeah, that's also true. But I think given that we have to follow the structure, I think there's also possibility that we may be going I think more deeper and
Mhm.
exploring more things, because we have to stick to a particular topic. Of course, that's not that's not mandatory, because it's our life, our rules. But yeah, I think I'm very much looking forward to what we explore. So
Let's
dive,
get it.
let's dive in. Let's dive it in today's topic. Communication challenges in modern day relationships. Hmm. So as I was thinking about it, I was not actually trying to think about it, but just thoughts were just coming automatically.
Yeah, yeah.
And I was just looking back in like how it has changed, and here I'm not talking about just romantic relationships, I'm talking about all the relationships that exist
Mhm.
and how communication have changed. So earlier there used to be communication. I mean, I have not seen that era, but I have heard it. I have watched it in movies where there were no telephones. My like if I hear two stories of my parents, they used to how they used to communicate when they were not. And first, I'm like more interested in just this very basic surface level communication when people are not together. I'm talking about the mode of communication here, and when because no matter who, even if you're a husband or wife, you cannot always live together, and there will be times when either one of you will be traveling. So when yeah, people used to travel earlier, we used to write letters, chitti, and
Cut.
then right, and then telephone came,
Yeah,
those
yeah.
big receivers, train, and then uh, yeah, then also people used to talk. Like I think communication was significantly increased in terms of duration, and but still, phone calls were still quite expensive.
Mm,
So I like people used to talk, but not that much.
mm.
And then yeah, then internet started coming. Then even mobile phone came, and then call rates were still in the beginning. They were really expensive when it came to mobile phones. But uh, all of it happened very quickly. Then WhatsApp came, internet became cheaper, and then I remember I once had a video call with one of my cousins in I think 2008 and 9, and it was on Yahoo Messenger,
Okay.
and it was such a big deal. She used to live in I think that time in Bangalore, and
Mhm.
I was having conversation with her, and then I like asked my mother and sister to join also, like talk to the cousin sister, and then they were so surprised to have that communication like how now we are having in just in a form of video call, because it was such a new thing back then. And then also text messages came, and then later that online chats came, and then of course now I think it's the era of the video calls.
It is like, I mean, going back, that is very interesting to observe. Like, there were not many modes of communication, and at the same time, there was not much expectation in terms of communication.
Yeah, that's the very important point.
So people knew, like, even before the calls and all, like the letter era, where people used to write each other letters and all, there was not much expectation involved that this
Hmm.
should be like this or that,
Hmm.
because there was not, it was not convenient at all.
Hmm.
And then as the phones came in, like I remember, like my childhood at my grandparents' home, that twin phone that you have to press the button and just dial it all the way. In that too, like when that was also expensive to use, like
Hmm.
depending on the household income and all. And like I come from a middle class family, so yes, it was not very cheap to use. So I remember like whenever those calls used to be made, they're like, if let's say if like let's say my father is like at job, and my mom, my grandmom, they wanted to talk to him, there was this minutes allotted. 2 minutes, all have to talk,
Hmm.
and then the conversation needs to be wind up, right? And and I think that is like in an unintentional way gave a structure to communication in itself, that what you have to talk, and you just have to talk it in the given time limit, and that is it.
Hmm.
There was not much to exploit. And yes, I am intentionally using the word exploit.
Yeah, yeah, you're right. And I think the most of the communication that was happening that time was necessary communication, I would say.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
That gives us another point to just explore that. Uh, does that mean that today, because we have communication available to us like just a press of a button, so how much of today's conversations or communication are unnecessary? Because at the same
Hmm.
time we talk about communication is very important, we should communicate, we should not suppress, we should be expressive, no one is mind reader, stuff like that, right? So on one hand we are telling
Hmm.
people that communication is very important,
Yeah.
and then also we are bringing in the parallel point where we are saying that perhaps much of what we are talking about today, uh, not here, like in general communication, that
Hmm.
can be unnecessary. So where is the balance there? Like, where do those two contradictory points meet?
Yeah, I think it's a very important point you have raised, and everyone is, yeah, talking about that you should communicate more, you should communicate more. And here we are talking about communicating less. Yeah. I think we'll come back to it. I think what we can, explore first is how communication has changed. Of course, we discussed that because of the modes of communications. But what are all the other factors today when it uh, between two people, like how communication happens today,
Mm.
and then, what are the factors affecting that communication? Like, let's suppose, let me give you some examples. So how I communicate with my parents when I'm not living with them. Yeah, it happens on a phone call. And yeah, we talk in, I think, once in 3 days or 4 days. That is now the norm. Earlier it used to be more frequent. How I communicate with my most of friends is that we talk on call in like 3 months, 4 months, or 2 months sometimes. And there are few, like I think two or three friends who I communicate more, maybe on chats as well. But I think since last 2 years, I've been very conscious of not talking on chat a lot because of course also I uh, don't want to allocate a lot of time to it because I feel like the real conversation communication, there's a lot of communication gap and miscommunication when you're talking on chat. So it's just good for and I think entertainment purposes, but not not good for actual communication because it also gives you a lot of time to
Mm-hmm.
think and to come up with an with your point if a conflict is happening, which I feel is little unfair, and it can be it depends, it can be inauthentic as well, but sometimes even it has an advantage because sometimes you need to also slow down and reflect on your own thoughts. But yeah, and I think one more thing which is happening now is communication in terms of sending each other memes and reels.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Okay, okay. So, what are the factors as in now because there are so many different modes of communications. Now my relationship with the technology with my phone will be different than the person, let's suppose someone, my partner.
hmm,
Her relationship with the phone will be different, my relationship with phone will be different. And based on that, we will have different expectations as well on how we are communicating, right?
that is true.
And yeah.
Yeah, continue, continue.
Yeah, and yeah, what else has come? I think there is also a lot of content that we consume these days. I think that is also something we have to consider, because earlier, if uh, my parents were not reading any self-help books, my parents were not following any Insta pages to give them relationship advice or how to, have communicate better.
Mhm.
But there's a lot of content out also there, which is of course I think good, because now we are moving from just a relationship, or any kind of relationship which was more based on survival, or just managing things. It's now we are moving more towards evolving ourselves, becoming a better person, evolving our consciousness, and exploring different things.
Mhm.
So that the content that we consume and what we what we read on Insta, what we watch on YouTube, these things also come into play, because based on that also we might have expectations.
Absolutely. Like, even if I am not talking to the other person, but depending on the content I'm consuming, I'm always talking to the person that I am. That inner
Hmm.
dialogue has always been there, right? So, if I am consuming a particular kind of content, and I'm not putting it in good or bad category, whatever kind of,
Hmm.
uh, it will make me think. And if I'm intentional about reading that content, then obviously it will make me think, because my intention will be related to that. Okay, I want to introspect on it, or okay, this was good, let me think about it, whatever. So even if I am not communicating with the other person, whoever that person is in my life, I'm
Hmm.
still constantly talking to myself. And I personally feel that it is not a good thing, that
Hmm.
continuously talking to oneself is also detrimental, because there need to be silences where you are
Hmm.
absolutely silent, and with complete peace at your with yourself also. So yes, I mean, going back to the like modes of communication you're talking about, via technology, the modes have changed: text, audio, video, means pictorial, everything is there. So
Hmm.
what I want to connect this thing to is that, firstly, it influences the kind of conversations we are having with ourselves, and then obviously it has a ripple effect in the kind of conversations we have with the others. So,
Hmm.
you know inside out, it is like that only,
Hmm.
right? That,
Hmm.
uh, to understand the kind of conversations we do with others, it's very very important to first understand the kind of conversations we have with ourselves.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, yeah. I think we can, look upon the various challenges. Let's talk about the challenges. What are the challenges that we have in modern day relationships? And again, I'm talking about all kind of relationships.
Okay, the first challenge which comes to my mind is not having a clear purpose behind those communication. Like, it's one thing to talk to people, to
Hmm.
just express yourself, right? But if we are not intentional, then that expression can just get derails and become something altogether,
Hmm.
and that just then becomes noise. So that is the first challenge which I feel is there, not having clear
Okay.
idea of the purpose why we want to communicate.
Hmm. Okay. Okay. I want to add like something to it, but I think let's first discuss all the challenges. We'll come to it. I'm writing them. I'm writing all the challenges, and then we can pick it one by one.
Sure.
Okay. So I'll go one challenge I will share. I think I will like to point out technology. I think it's not a challenge, but it has a challenge also. Like it is a double-edged sword.
Mhm.
but it can be a challenge. It is a potential challenge.
It is like pros and cons both are there.
Hmm.
Mm.
What else?
Okay. So there's this another thing. And I think it somewhere touches with what I just said. Um, because of the technology and all the hustle bustle in today's world, if I don't get space to connect with myself, right, then I forget when I begin to outsource that connection with others. It's like all I need to feel calm and sane is that this is strong connection with myself, but because I'm distracted, I'm trying to look for it in the outer world. And
Hmm.
and this conflict, you know, leads to a very haphazard kind of communication, which is and then I'll simply pick the example of, let's say, two cases. Okay, number one,
Hmm.
like colleagues in office, they are just
Hmm.
gossiping because they want that kick for a while, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
But some people get confused there, that okay, is this just a gossiping happening, or the other person is trying to build a connection?
Hmm. Yeah, yeah, yeah. That is possible.
So like some people, like the ones I have talked to, they are like, um it's hard to identify when the other person is approaching for the communication with the objective of really building a connection, or
Hmm.
it's just time pass.
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
that when the technology or all the ongoing distraction don't give you that space to understand what you are looking for, then you seek for it in the outer world, and that just creates confusion. The second
Yeah.
example can be on the dating apps. How it happens, like everyone is just time pass. Okay, not everyone, not one. Okay, not generalizing, but most of us. Okay, next. So yeah.
Yeah. Hmm. Yeah. Yeah. And and on that note, I think it's also connected with, as you were mentioning, distraction. There are so many distractions and overstimulation.
Yes, yes, definitely. The technology is the source of overstimulation.
Hmm. Yeah. I think, and also there have never been so many distractions, as in so many things to numb you, ever.
True.
Uh, we can, where to start if I start talking about all the things that actually takes away your energy and gives you nothing much in the return, but just gives you, uh, helps you alleviate that emotions for a while.
Yep. Yep.
Starting with, social media, and it's not just, you have to escape from the emotions. It's so many times it's just how it is designed.
Yeah.
you know it's designed
Absolutely.
to it's designed to keep you hooked. So even someone who has a very healthy brain, they will struggle with it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So so many distractions out there: Instagram, all the social media. Then we have alcohol, we have feed, we have TV. What else we have?
Every kind of addiction we have to keep us away from that actual thing which we know we have to address. Like, sex is one of such addiction for many people.
Hmm.
Another addiction is optimism.
Okay. Hmm.
Yeah, toxic optimism. It's one of the addictions, the way I see it. So there is one
Hmm.
optimism where you are realistic and then you know where you are heading towards or where you are. And then there is this another kind of optimism which is considered as toxic optimism, where you don't want to address your current state, your reality, because it is too painful. So you try
Hmm.
to mask it with positivity, and it is addiction for a lot of people.
Yeah, 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 yeah. It's like I will smile no matter what.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, then I think usually that, that ends in depression.
yeah.
On a
In
sad
one
note.
way, yes. Yeah, yeah.
Anyway,
Okay,
what else?
okay. Challenges in the modern world, relationship and the communications. Mm, all the challenge which are coming to my mind, they are all related to the relationship with self.
Hmm.
Like abhi jo do challenge I shared, the two challenges I shared, they are also about first understanding the place you are coming from, the connection you share with yourself, right?
Hmm.
um and then similarly there is this another challenge which is coming to my mind, which is there is this urgency to reach a destination.
Hmm.
Most of the times we don't communicate because we really want to just be in the moment, get to know each other, enjoy the vulnerability and all. There is this rush of destination,
Hmm.
trying to get something out of it too soon, that I'm like, okay, let's just rush this process so that I can get the clarity if I have X alignment with Y person, whatever that is.
Hmm.
So that rush, it just overrides the whole purpose of communicating with someone. And where does that rush come from? Again, when I feel I am lacking something and I want to get it from the outer world. Again, that outsourcing. So this
Hmm.
urgency, this rush to reach a particular goal while communicating just makes the whole process of communication very superficial, which I think happens
Yeah,
a lot
yeah,
in
yeah,
today's relationships.
yeah. I think, yeah, that comes from a place of fear. And again, like you said, that gaining that that entertainment from outside,
Yeah,
stimulating
entertainment.
yourself, because you can have a lot of validation and a lot of dopamine, because every conversation also kicks your dopamine. So if you're not intentional about it, people can keep, people can talk for hours, and sometimes that's what they do, but it doesn't result in good things happening in their life.
Yeah, yeah, that is there. And one other thing which I think is because in the modern world, there is a lot of emphasis on identifying one's own needs and ensuring that they get fulfilled. We all have certain destinations to arrive at while we are communicating in our head.
Hmm.
That, for example, I know that my need in a communication with any person is authenticity. Okay, if I know authenticity is one of the core needs or values of mine, and I have been doing this inner work, right, then my whole focus will become, in a way, in the back of my head, that analysis will go on parallelly while I'm talking to someone. Is he or
Hmm.
she being or they being authentic or inauthentic?
Hmm.
Where is it heading to? So, the more emphasis we are putting on recognizing our own needs, which is important. It's just that the medium of fulfilling those needs via this communication is just making this whole process very rushed. That everyone is like, okay, just I just want to have that evidence that okay, this communication is leading to my value only, that it is not very contradictory to what I want in my life or whatever.
Yeah, yeah. I wonder that that's where gaslighting came from.
Good point.
Yeah, I think so. We have already discussed so many things.
Hmm,
Okay, so let's start with again the first point, first challenge you mentioned, the clear purpose.
sure.
So let's talk about it. And if we are not here, to provide solutions to people that you do this, but we're just going to talk about it. And yeah, if even I want to find solutions in this conversation for some miscommunication that has been happening in my life. So yeah, let's talk about the clear purpose. For me, it's more about not giving solutions out there, but more about raising my awareness.
Yeah, yeah. Let's keep it open. Like, the discussion we are having, we don't know what part of it will appear as solution to all the
Hmm.
people, right? For different people. So, and right, I mean, actually, what are solutions? Solutions are just one of the many possibilities which work for a particular person, right? There is no thumb rule here. So, yeah,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So since you came up with that challenge, I would like to go and share my thoughts, and then you can add on to them. Okay.
yeah.
So clear purpose, and now it's little tricky because oh my God, there are so many relationships. I have a relationship with my father, my brother, my mother, my sister. Then they have so many friends, so many acquaintances, and then I also have clients as well. And each communication is very different.
Mm,
Communication in each relationship is very different. So what is my purpose? Even if I generalize in a way that there's a particular kind of communication happening with my family, then there's a particular kind of communication happening with my friends, and there's a particular kind of communication happening with my, let's say, potential partner.
mhm,
So if I see my purpose and I be very honest about it, let's start with my family. So mostly, I think I don't have a lot of vulnerable conversations with my family.
mm,
Uh, Most of the conversations uh, I have to sometimes just participate because now I'm staying with my parents as well. But when I was not living with them, it was just mostly about, what did you eat? Did you eat well? How are you? When are you coming home? And yeah, like there's less of depth, of course, but I think that's how most relationships are with our parents and all. And what's my purpose? What's my purpose in in relationship with my family? I think its purpose is to check in first, how they are doing, what's going on, like just to know of the different things happening at home, and yeah, I guess, and other I would say other things which which needs to happen on practical level. But I don't think there is any clear purpose in
it's more
relation.
functional. It's
Yeah, it's
functional. Yeah.
yeah, it's more functional, and I have a good relationship with my parents. It's not that uh, I have a lot of love them for them, a lot of gratitude for them, and even from their side, I receive a lot of love and freedom as and yeah. But even that expression of communication, expression of love, I think that's missing. And if we talk, if we generalize it, not just for me, for everyone, as in, what's the purpose of communication with your family?
Different answers, but most of them will be same.
Hmm. How would you want to communicate? What would be your purpose if you have to choose one?
um, I'll be answering it. Okay, so My every communication has the purpose of self exploration for me.
Hmm.
Right now, if I'm talking to you also, it's a way for me to get to know myself better. And the more present I am right now, the more understanding I can cultivate, even if it is not any new understanding, you know. And
Hmm.
that builds the foundation of love, care, support, connection for me. So this is it's the same thing with my parents. It's just that it's more difficult to stay present while I am talking to my parents because the triggering factors are way higher there.
Hmm. Hmm.
Childhood trauma, everything, right? So yeah, so I mean, my purpose of communicating with my parents is again self exploration, and and you know it's multifaceted. If I start talking about self exploration, we don't have time for that. But um, when I say self exploration, it's more about exploring myself from the lenses of not just who I am as Ashi, but who I am as my parents' daughter. You see,
Hmm.
so it's in that way. And then I have recognized in last few weeks only that when I lead my communication, when I engage in that kind of communication with my parents, there is some kind of ripple effect. I don't know how it is happening, but I find them being introspective. You know, it's
Hmm.
like some trigger just got off. You know, it's like boom,
Hmm.
and the both parties are just now uh, arguing or being passive aggressive in the communication and all. But just because I like to bring myself back to that self exploration point, I see it getting reflected by my parents as well, be it my mother or father.
Hmm.
So yeah, I
Hmm.
mean, so that is like the purpose for me. Sorry for
Yeah.
digressing as always. Go on.
No, but I think you touched a very important point because uh, what I have learned from a spiritual perspective that your relationship with your inner circle, which is uh, one of your inner circle is your family, are mostly not supposed to be easy. They are supposed to be hard. They are supposed to be triggering,
Yeah,
and that's how I think that's the relationship of most of the people. They do not have a good relationship with their parents.
yeah,
They do not communicate freely. They are not always supported, and there's also as we grow, we start kind of hating our parents. And trigger part is very very important. Like it's more like we have to love our parents because they are parents. But as a person, we know that oh my god. But I think the important point here is if we have to move towards the direction of defining a purpose here. So my relationship with my mother was uh, again earlier it was very much more triggering. Now it's very less triggering. Sometimes still happens, but still it significantly it has reduced, and it reduced because I somehow understood that maybe my mother is never going to change, so I have to take responsibility. And then I started understanding, why it is happening, why I'm getting triggered, why I'm getting angry, why with my mother, and because I can mostly remain calm, but why is it happening here? And as I started exploring, it turns out that there is always a point of where the trigger starts or where that conversation escalates, from where you can actually exit. But it's not easy. You uh, feel that emotion, you feel anger, and immediately words come out of your mouth, and words come out of their mouth, and then there is no going back. Then it has to escalate. So as I would go back and whenever that trigger, some any kind of this conversation would happen, I would go back and I would yeah, I would meditate. I would just see it when it started and what was my mistake. So that's how it changed. I started taking 100% responsibility that whenever it's happening, it's my mistake. And if I be more loving, if I be more less judgmental, and if I'm not trying to change my mother the way she is, the arguments are not going to happen. But of course, there are so many times, we feel that whatever she's saying, that's a very wrong perspective, and it should not be like this. This should not be like this. On some random topic, it's that argument is more. I think it's hardly ever happening in this particular case with when we are talking about ourselves. It's mostly happening when it's someone else.
Mhm.
So, what can be the purpose with your relationships with your parents is self exploration, but specific on triggers. How can because I think a trigger is another opportunity to explore yourself, and it's like a challenge. It's like a challenge to you that, yeah, is this your weakness, or are you going to rise up than this and bring out something from within, like level up your being where you are not getting triggered by this particular thing.
Yeah, yeah. Use them as
Yeah.
mirrors.
Yeah, and use them as mirrors. And because ultimately, if you, yeah, go deeper, you will see that there's some part of you that was being self-righteous or judgmental or angry that was creating that trigger.
Yep, yep.
Yeah, so I think that can be, and yeah, that can be a purpose in most of the relationships if they are triggers in those relationships. But mostly in, I think, romantic and relationships with our parents, uh, this can be one of the purposes.
And sometimes with relationships with siblings also, because they
Oh,
have
oh
been there.
yeah.
They have been there since the beginning, so yes.
Yeah, yeah. And I think we want to move on. I know we can talk a lot about this, but I think
Yeah.
let's move on to our next point. Or shall we move on to other relationships as well? What can be the purpose of a relationship? In friendships, what can be the purpose?
You tell, what do you think? What is your purpose of your communication with your friends?
With my friends, sometimes it's just knowing. First is to, of course, knowing what's happening in their life,
Mhm,
and then one of the purposes is also exploration of course, not just me. Not always like I want to explore myself, I think,
mhm,
but I want to explore
mhm,
different ideas, and of course, that's somewhere helping me as well, giving me new perspectives.
mhm,
And yeah, I think friendships are, I don't know if friendships are underrated or not, but they are one of the most beautiful relationships because, again, we choose our friendships.
mhm.
We always have a choice in friendship. So if you do not have good friends, then something something is terribly wrong.
I know that point very well. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
for me also, friendships, like communication purpose in friendship is to forget myself for the time being, in a way.
Yeah.
It's like, yes, I lead with that purpose of exploring myself, because I see it as the more I explore myself, the more I get to know about others, because we all are connected ultimately.
Hmm.
But yes, with friends, I have found this gullibility factor in me which gets activated. Like I intentionally become gullible in front of my friends,
Hmm. Hmm.
because
Hmm.
I don't feel I have anything to prove there. I'm a
Hmm.
human. I have a human tendency where I try to prove myself to people, or to myself, prove myself to myself only. That okay. But with friends, that just all fades away. And by friends, I mean the good friends. The close ones. Otherwise, with the acquaintances and the friends like who are not that close, there also it's more about just being interested in someone else's life. What is
Mhm.
going on, how are they
Yeah,
doing.
yeah, and but you have to put efforts there. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. I
it
think
takes
yeah,
it.
friend. Yeah, for me also, friendship is more about being playful, being stupid also, and and of course, being stupid also connects to being vulnerable as well.
Yeah,
And yeah, just just in a way, forgetting the world and just enjoying something.
yeah.
Maybe it's some particular moments we had together. Maybe it's a song. Maybe it's a movie. Maybe it's a sport we play.
Maybe just silence.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Nice. Okay. What else? Like, we have covered everything. Like, we
Uh,
can just keep going on this point for so long if we are starting to pick different different relationships.
I think we can quickly cover relationships, romantic relationships.
Yeah. Okay.
So what can be the purpose in a romantic relationship?
So for me, the purpose for me, and then and I'll add one point there also, is to genuinely get to know the other person the way they are instead of what I think or feel they are. You know,
Wow, wow.
because in romantic relationships or potential romantic relationships, that happens a lot. Like we are
Hmm.
not talking to the person, we are most of the times talking to the image we have about the
Yeah,
person, and
yeah,
that is just it has its own fun, but
yeah.
yeah,
But
but the rest. So yeah, that's
yeah.
the purpose for me, the romantic or potential romantic relationships, that yes, get to know the other person the way they are, not what I
Hmm.
think or feel they are.
Hmm. Yeah, I think that's very important. We talk about, when we are evolving, we are always letting go of the version that we were.
Mm,
And I think it's then, if you're in that kind of a relationship where both of you are evolving as well,
mm.
then you also have to let go of the image so many times of of your partner.
So many times. Yeah, and with that, communication keeps evolving.
Yes, yes. But ultimately, I think it comes down to just being, how honest can you be? In a, of course, again, in a romantic relationship, because that's, I think that's the kind of relationship where you're going to communicate the most,
Mm,
where you're going to be with each other the most, and yeah, where you're going to have most memorable moments together.
yeah, in
So,
a way, yes, yes.
so ultimately, it comes down to taking the challenge of how honest can you be. I know, not always we can be honest, because in order to be honest, you have to feel safe, and yeah, we not always we feel safe, and but there's always another level to that honesty where we can go. But if I have to talk about, the purpose of romantic relationship, for me, it would be more of, again,
Hmm.
exploring, having fun, going much deeper, into, uh, again, ultimately, it's my exploration. So
Mm,
I think going much deeper into my exploration, my triggers, understanding my thought patterns, and celebrating life as well. I think
yeah, yeah.
celebrating life, and being present as well,
Mm.
and Yeah, and also, making the most out of this material world as well, having all the pleasures of the material world.
All the fun.
Yeah, all the fun. Not all the
Mm,
fun.
got it.
Yeah, but
Mm.
you
Okay.
know, wh- yeah,
No, 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 no. Finish, finish it, finish it.
yeah, whatever fun doesn't become a regret later. That, all that fun.
Uh, I can start talking on this, but no. Okay, let me hold myself back because of the time constraint. Um,
Mm,
let's talk about the question which we initially came up with, na?
mm,
Instead of going in the depth of the rest of the three, four challenges which we already
mm,
noted down, because I think
mm,
that question was important. That where is the balance between you know, on one hand we have this idea that we should communicate more,
yeah,
you know, to express ourselves, to get to know each other, to not suppress anything, and that whole ideology there. And then there is this also a parallel idea which I think once you and I have also briefly talked about how much of this communication is unnecessary.
yeah, yeah. I think
So
let's start with,
yeah, so like,
yeah,
you know, the middle point of it, if
yeah,
there exists any middle point.
definitely. It would be different for everyone, but it does exist.
Mm,
Uh, I think let's start with the unnecessary communication.
mm,
Okay, and I'll start on the pros or why communication can be unnecessary sometimes. Like I believe not everything needs to be shared. Not everything that's coming in your mind needs to be shared
mhm,
because so many times, so many stupid thoughts comes to my mind, so many fears comes to my mind, so many doubts come to my mind, which usually I pass in some time and let go of them, and then their better thinking evolves, better thinking comes to me. And I'm not just talking about it in terms of communication, but how I go about my life in different things.
mhm,
So one thing is not every thought is needs to be shared simply because most of the thoughts are just repetitive and stupid.
mhm,
So first, I think if we can, and again, that can only happen if we have more space for ourselves,
mhm,
so that we can evaluate or be conscious of what we are sharing and why it needs to be shared. Of course, not always we have to be so uh, like a surgeon, like always uh, questioning the why of it.
mhm,
But so many times so many things can happen very naturally, I think.
mhm,
Where if we just are if we are being conscious, more conscious, and we are spending more time with ourselves, then we will realize that so many things maybe we don't even need to share. And
mhm,
but again, there is a parallel to it in the opposite. Uh, I think opposite realm, which in what needs to be communicated. So many times we don't communicate what actually needs to be communicated. So not taking away that, it doesn't mean that you let go of that what actually needs to be communicated,
mhm,
but also taking into account what where there is no sense or it makes uh, no result coming out of that communication. So some thoughts can be avoided.
mhm.
Then I think if we are more intentional even from the beginning only that okay, so no, and don't want to go there because I think I want to discuss more on unnecessary communication, how unnecessary communication is happening. Yeah, you want to add something to it?
Yeah. So, you know, and then I'm sharing it from my own experience. Like, I didn't used to be very expressive, hence not very communicative. But
Hmm.
that used to be my wound. Okay, and when
Hmm.
I healed it, I became super expressive.
Hmm.
And in the hindsight, now I can realize that sometimes I was trying to overcompensate for the years when I was
Hmm.
not expressive enough.
Hmm.
So in a way, I have seen the extremes of both. Like, when you don't express and when you express a lot, right?
Hmm.
And I can say that it requires a hit and trial. Like, it's not that you will be able to figure out what is necessary to talk about and what is not necessary to talk about just by thinking about it.
Hmm.
Because um, when you are in the process of healing, or let's say just trying to understand life, what is it, what is happening around you, just trying to make sense out of things, the thoughts which you think are unnecessary are many times necessary. It's your
Hmm.
fear which makes you believe that it is unnecessary to talk about. And that is why we see a lot of resistance when it comes to difficult conversations, because the mind is very smart. It can come up with as many
Hmm.
justifications as you want to support the fear that you are having, right? So it's very important to identify when the mind is using its brilliance to hold you back.
Hmm. Wow, that's a very, very important point that uh, you brought out from what I was saying.
That is why I feel it is about hit and trial. You
Hmm.
have to
Hmm.
allow yourself to do
Hmm.
mistakes, uh, to be in situation which will feel like heartbreaking, but then only you will learn that okay, that's where I didn't need to communicate, but that's where I needed to.
Hmm. Hmm.
Because again, I have met with so many people, like the people I work with, the clients. Some are gifted with like we all have a brilliant mind, but some people have unlocked it to a next level.
Hmm.
And for those people, it is particularly more difficult to understand when their mind is actually not helping them with its brilliance,
Hmm.
because they have all the things listed in their head that okay, this is why I don't want to talk about it. I know this will happen, like a flow chart, something like that.
Hmm.
And that is why they are not even stepping into the arena of communicating.
Yeah. Is there a way that someone can identify that what is truly important to communicate?
Self observation is the only way.
Hmm.
I don't think there is any other way. If you can, no nonsensically observe yourself and be 100% honest with whatever is arising,
Hmm.
you can understand that how much of your communication is necessary and unnecessary.
Hmm. Hmm. I think, yeah, one question that can be very useful here is, yeah, am I being honest? Am I being really, really, really honest with myself?
Yes, and people can train themselves in identifying that honesty in their body instead of the mind.
Oh, yes, absolutely.
Because it's the mind game, no, we have to come out of it, so we have to go into our body.
Hmm. Yeah, and that's where we connect with our intuition.
Yes,
Hmm. And intuition is, I think, yeah, so many things will become so easy if we are in tune with our intuition, because
absolutely.
it can actually help us decide whether the mind is just messing with us, or it's actually something which maybe needs to be communicated or does not need to be communicated.
Yes, so tying it all together, we can say that there does exist a middle point where
Hmm.
like how much of conversation is necessary and unnecessary,
Hmm.
but at the same time that middle point keeps changing. Like
Hmm.
in a relationship with friend, that middle point will be different. With a partner will be different, parents, sibling, everywhere it will be different. And as the relationship will progress, the point will also keep changing. So nothing is static here. But yes,
Hmm.
the only way to identify is that honesty, intuition, connecting with the body, observing, and yeah, I mean, being willing to, being courageous enough to take the risk where you'll end up feeling heartbroken.
Hmm. Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Okay, so it's already 1 hour, and so my battery somehow made it. And I
Yay!
think yeah, we can just wrap this conversation in next
Sure,
5 minutes.
sure. Like if anyone has any thoughts to add, the people who are live right now.
Yeah. Hi, Joey. Hi, Vimuri. Hi, Rohan.
Hi guys.
So, yeah, anyone wants to ask any question, now is the time. I feel like we opened up a lot of things, but we couldn't fully commit to them because of the time constraints.
Yeah.
But I could see this conversation easily going to 3 hours.
Same thing. I was thinking the same thing. That now that we approach this next layer, no, now it's the time to not
Yeah,
stop.
yeah, yeah. So at the same time, understanding the as we have some advantages, but also I'm understanding the disadvantages of doing a live session, making it public.
I don't know, we can come up with something. Maybe people who like these discussions and would like to, go for the longer ones. Maybe we can host a Zoom group chit chat kind of thing for those particular people. Maybe just thinking out loud.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And also, I think even we will get more articulate, more effective in articulation as
Mm.
we progress.
Yeah, that will happen. Yes.
So, yeah, I'm not getting any question, and I don't even know if people can actually ask questions live.
It's a new feature. Like since you have sent me the request for the live, can you see
Hmm.
anyone saying something?
Anyone saying something?
Like Insta live only it should show you if anyone has to say something at the bottom, I think.
I think it's not showing. Yeah, not showing anything. Yep. Yeah, I think then we can just wrap the conversation. There's something that you want to add? Some last point? Uh, I think we can little bit talk about how to deal with the online communication when technology is involved.
Sure, we can.
Yeah, I think there is something, especially in close friendships and relationships, this conversation needs to happen where where we are talking about each other's relationship with our devices, with our phone,
Mhm.
and then what each one is expecting. Like if I'm talking to one of my friends on a daily basis, and maybe I go somewhere, I don't talk to her for 3 days, and maybe I'm fine with it, not talking for 3 days, but maybe she is not. And so that communication needs to happen, because everyone, I think, has a very different relationship with their devices, and because of the overstimulation, uh, not always we are very effective in who to respond and when to respond. And sometimes we just want to, keep our phone away and have our time with ourselves and not
Go in
communicate
our
anything
cocoon.
to,
Yes, go in our
yeah,
cocoon.
in our cocoon, and not communicate anything to anyone.
Yes, yes. Been there, done
Yeah.
that. And I think
Yes.
it just reminds me one of the points which my brother says. He said,
Hmm.
there is this when sometimes you are not even in a mental state. that
Hmm.
you can express to the other person why you are going to hibernation. So in those situations, and then it's his suggestion that you should come up with a code word that,
Hmm.
when you are communicating properly and both are in their summer season, not hibernating and all,
Hmm.
talking and all, just come up with this one code, any word, that if I am sending that word to you, that means I don't even have the capacity to talk to you or to tell you why I am not wanting to talk. And establish that understanding there via that word, that whenever this word is being used between those two people, the message will be received. And I was like, this is nice. Because sometimes, yes, there is not even energy to, just express that why I don't want to talk.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, and I think at the same time, because if a conversation is happening and maybe someone we are, let's suppose we are like people are aware of their attachment styles, and let's suppose someone's
Mm,
attachment style is being anxious, being avoidant. So I
mm.
think they can have this conversation beforehand, if their tendency is to be anxious, then the person who is avoidant can be more uh, understanding of that and communicate uh, something at least. Or maybe they can have that conversation that this person who is getting anxious, they uh, should let go of any expectation that they are having and deal with their anxiousness and be okay with not communicating during that time.
That's a big ask which you are sharing. Someone who has anxious attachment style, I think, uh, and then one thing which you highlighted, which I just want to emphasize on, is we
Hmm.
don't talk about the attachment styles enough when it comes to relationships other than the romantic relationships.
Oh, yes, yes.
So that is a very important point. That yes, even in friends, that should be a norm to talk about, you know,
Hmm.
attachment styles. That okay, and then for that, yes, the friends need to align on that level that both of them are interested in stuff like that, which is rare to find. So I get it, but yes, and then in a way, like, it just all boils down to the point of the self work, no? Like,
Hmm.
if the person who has anxious attachment style, they are doing the inner work, they'll know that it is difficult to not seek for that reassurance from their friend or partner, because they may be needing some off time from the screen or whatever. But at the same time, they are just getting that assurance from themselves. So it can be difficult, but at the same time, that is where their growth is.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I think that's what's very important to have that conversation that this is my relationship with my phone, this is my relationship with my phone, and this is how I'm going to respond, and this is how I'm going to respond. And
Mm,
then if that is not, if both the parties are not agreeable, then maybe they can, move here and there,
yep,
and
yep,
then come to a point where they are both happy with the
agreed,
terms.
agreed.
Yeah, yeah. I wonder when communication. Oh, one thing I wanted to talk about now it's coming to me is so how communication happens with with my male friends, online communication.
Tell me how it happens.
It doesn't happen.
Okay, okay.
Yeah, I mean it happens, but mostly on calls. Chat communication is hardly there, and I think there is no need to. There was never any conversation. Of course, mm, it will take around 50 years for man to have this conversation that, oh, I am anxious and I am avoidant. Just making a joke, but when it comes to my friends, I never had this conversation with my male friends that this is how I am going to communicate, or this is how you are going to communicate. But when we meet and then we have this conversation, and of course, it's a a very wonderful conversation that I have with mostly all of my male friends. And then there's this understanding, that we'll mostly talk when we meet, and when we are, not meeting, then we'll talk on call, and any person can call, and of course then there's a communication there that I if the person is not able to pick up, but sometimes there is also not the clear communication there, but there are less expectations, I would say, uh, eh, which which is better. There's automatically there are less expectations, and there's because of that there is a mutual understanding.
Okay. Unsaid understanding, you mean? Don't have to
Yeah,
be discussed, it's there.
yeah, it's there, but it can be discussed as well. I don't know, because
Mm.
not it's not going to be the same in all kinds of friendships, all kinds
Yep.
of male friendships.
Yep.
Yeah, so if you feel it's the issue, then, or it's something where you're feeling blocked, then it has to be discussed.
Hmm.
But if you're not, again, coming to the body, and if you're feeling very uh fluent, as in you are not seeing any problem, and you feel that communication between your friend, even if it's happening in months, is very smooth, and you don't feel like something is blocking. And again, sometimes it can happen that one person can feel very comfortable and other person is not. So I think the person who is not feeling the block can take the responsibility first, and second, also, as we are becoming more aware, even, you know even if it's going smooth, even I can ask, or the person who is not feeling any block can ask, how do we how do you feel about how we communicate?
It's a good question to ask two friends, no? How do you feel
Hmm.
about how we communicate? Just a
Hmm.
very decent, fun activity or just introspection to do, you know? Even the people who are listening to this, if they want it, they can just send this question to the people in their life, that what do you feel about the way we communicate? It's such
Yeah,
an eye-opening question. It will lead to a beautiful conversation.
absolutely, absolutely. Do you want to talk about that?
I think we are already above 1 hour.
Yeah, maybe
You
we
and I,
can
you
have
and I will
that
definitely,
private.
yes,
Yeah,
yes,
we
yes,
can
yes,
have that in our private conversation.
yes, yes. We will talk about it. It's such a nice question. Yes,
Hmm. Yeah, I think that's where we we should end.
yes. Before something else comes to your mind, let's
Yeah.
wind up.
Yes, 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 yes. So that's it for today's Substack Live. Thank you everyone who watched and who joined, and thank you everyone who is going to watch it in the future or listen to it in the future. And that's what all I have to say from my side. I really, really enjoyed this conversation, and boy, oh boy, game on.
Same, loved it. Thank you to everyone who joined us live. Thank you for listening, like afterwards. And yes, as I had an idea, like the conversation just flowed, and yes, we touched different tangent, we got digressed and all. That was a part of it. That will keep happening, I guess. But yes, we will keep getting better at articulating ourselves as we dive deeper into these sessions in a more consistent manner. So we'll see you next on Wednesday. And the topic is, do you want me to tell them the topic?
Yeah, you should tell because I don't know.
I'll tell them. Okay, the topic is, how is the nature of inner work different for men and women?
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. Wow. What
So
a,
that will be the topic for our
yeah.
conversation on Wednesday, 6 p.m. IST, same place, Substack. So yeah, see you then.
See you.
Bye
Till
bye.
then, enjoy. And yeah, do share if you enjoyed our conversation. Do share it. Even if you
Yes.
don't share, that's okay. Bye.